Yeah, what has changed, Philip, is the speed that he's traveling on the surface streets and how desperate the suspect appears to be. You know, we're seeing stopped now here at Avalon and 238th, and we've just relayed that information to the Sheriff's Department, so they'll be overhead very, very soon here. But, you know, the suspect does risk getting himself locked in, and there you see he wanted nothing to do with being locked into that intersection right there, and went around in front of that semi and now got onto Sepulveda Boulevard. So at least the speed has slowed a little bit. Obviously, from following these things over the years, you'll see somebody slow down and take it easy, and then for no reason just take off. No patrol cars behind him, no air units overhead, and it's almost impossible to try and guess why. But at least the speeds have slowed, because we saw some extremely high rates of speed into oncoming traffic, nearly ran into a couple of cars. The speed is down a little bit, and the erratic driving down a little bit compared to what we saw 10 minutes ago. Yep. Yeah, then speeding up again. You know, we had speeds that were about. Oh, look at that! Look at how. Oh my goodness! Whoa, we just about had an incredible accident right there. That would have been bad. I mean, that looked like inches away from missing that vehicle that went through the intersection. We are coming up. We're getting on the 110 freeway northbound now, traveling through the Compton area, the Torrance area, if you will. And you see the damage on that right front fender, and boy, that we're just fortunate we didn't see a horrific accident at high speeds there a moment ago in that intersection. We've lost the IFP. Well, we've lost the IFP. I think we got it back now. Now we've lost it again. You're going to have to get it on a different mountaintop, I'm afraid. The sheriff's Air 8 overhead yet? They're here. Yeah, got you back. There we go. Yeah, there's no rhyme or reason to it. There's no patrol car behind him. Now, Sheriff's Air 8 is overhead now, so they won't be looking at our feed any longer. We're on the 110 North. That was the 405 freeway that the vehicle just went underneath, traveling northbound on the harbor here. And so CHP is going to take over here. It'll be interesting to see exactly how they want to handle this. You know, they don't even really want patrol cars behind a vehicle doing 110 or 120 on the Harbor Freeway. And as I look up ahead, you know, we're going to come up on the 91 freeway here in a moment, and then from what I can tell, I can see it up past the 105. The northbound 110 doesn't look too bad. But once we get up into South LA or Los Angeles, that certainly is going to change. And when we see more traffic, that's when we really see the desperation to continue to go. The suspect does not want to stop. That's very apparent. Even with no one behind him that he can see, he's hesitant to get into a situation where his vehicle comes to a stop. He wants to continue to try and move. Maybe he thinks that's going to allow him to elude police, but it's certainly not going to be the case. But yeah, 100 miles an hour, almost clipped the vehicle. And you know, Philip, the real danger is an area here where you have that overhead portion, it gets very hard to see the vehicle, so we're trying not to lose them. But the danger at 100 miles an hour is the other vehicles don't realize how fast he's coming up through this area, and then all of a sudden they could make a turn in front of him, and we could just have a horrific accident. Yeah. Yeah, that certainly is the case on the surface streets. You know, you hit potholes, you hit dips in the road, and then you lose control of the vehicle. We've seen a lot of pursuits end that way, with the suspect just hitting a curb or hitting a dip at a high rate of speed, flipping the vehicle, or just losing control. I don't think we have to worry too much about that at any type of speed really on the freeway. These freeways are pretty smooth. But what you really worry about when you drive erratically at over 100 miles an hour, somebody tries to get out of the way. There's that indecision. What should I do? Another driver's watching them come by, and they just turn the wrong way trying to get out of his way, and all of a sudden you have a really bad collision, a lot of weight, a lot of momentum, a lot of inertia, and people get hurt or even killed, and that's certainly the sad aspect of these pursuits. Now, we don't see a CHP right behind him. It's going to be a CHP run pursuit at this point in time because it spends so much time on the freeway, gets off into a jurisdiction, and LA County Sheriffs will be on top of it, or possibly LAPD, depending on where this may get off the freeway. It also gives us some problems, if you will. We have problems with the airspace and LAX. So if the suspect stays on the 110 freeway all the way up through and into downtown, we'll be able to follow him. If not, if the suspect does, and there you go, see a turn, I think we're going to get on the 105. There's an area that we can't fly and cover pursuits inside what they call the Bravo. And boy, look at that, Philip, barely able to negotiate that turn. And it looks like we're going to come back on this transition. This may be onto the 105 freeway westbound. So we're out of what I was just trying to explain to you. There are areas along the 110 freeway we can't cover pursuits because of the stacked airspace into LAX. But we are on the 105 freeway westbound now, and as long as he stays on the freeway, that won't be an issue for us to continue to cover this. But very erratic, high speeds. They do have an air unit overhead, and it'll be interesting to see how CHP handles this, if they want to get patrol cars out on the freeway and follow the suspect, or if they just want to follow him from the air. Yeah. I think it's close. What happens is if we get at certain angles, the GPS just doesn't align itself properly. I believe these speeds around 90 miles an hour look accurate to me, considering that the traffic is going around 70, and you can see how quickly they're going by them. I mean, normally on the freeway, it's 65, but people will even do 70, 75 when you have very little volume on the freeway, and he's whipping right past those vehicles. So this looks fairly accurate to me at close to 100 miles an hour, but it's not always specifically accurate, Philip, but it really is a great gauge for us. It keeps us really engaged on about what the speed is and gives us a real good idea of just how dangerous these pursuits are. But it's not like all of a sudden we just hit a spot where he did not accelerate to 115, and it can be with our altitude, our angle, but in most cases we're seeing a pretty accurate number pop up. I wouldn't surprise me if we're up above 100 miles an hour right now. Yeah. 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 Yeah, it's frightening. There's no doubt about that. There's no question. And look at that. Look at how abrupt that move was. You know, you start to wonder when you follow these things, what's going on inside the mind of the suspect. And at least by just following their actions, thinking, well, are they just trying to get away? Are they that indecisive? Do they have no idea what they're doing right now? They just figure, I'm driving. I'm going to do anything I can do to try to elude police, even though there's no one behind him. Drugs and alcohol involved. Now, we don't see the type of movements from this vehicle that you usually see with somebody who's drunk. It appears this individual has fairly good control of the car, able to negotiate around corners, swerve in and out of traffic, but you never know. And what we're coming up on a decision for the suspect if he stays on the freeway, gets onto the 405 freeway or continues west towards the shoreline. We're just south of LAX. If he would get on the 405 northbound, that would be a problem for us. We just can't travel north on the 405 because of the approach course to LAX. But yeah, the speeds are high. And he certainly doesn't have any problem going right next to vehicles. Now, here we go. Things have changed a little bit, and you see the CHP cruisers right on his tail. Yeah, no, I think that's a good observation. You know, we followed this and we picked it up on the 405 coming up through the Carson area, and they had a patrol car, actually a motor unit right behind the vehicle on the 405 northbound. But once the suspect got off on a Carson, they couldn't follow him. That's how erratically he was driving, and there was no air unit. So for about a 10-minute period there, we were the only ones shooting this shot and keeping an eye on the suspect, and they were watching us until Sheriff's Air 8 got overhead. So it's heading towards the Hawthorne area. Hawthorne PD may start to be involved. We're just south of LA. Okay, so we understand Hawthorne PD put this Oh boy, look at that. Okay, we're back up. Well, we saw some pretty high rates of speed here right at the end of the 105 freeway. We're coming up on right at the shoreline here, turning north. That makes it tricky for us because the extended center line, we got to drop down to 500 feet here in order to go north. We have to get down actually below 150 feet along the shoreline so that we're not impinging on traffic going into and out of LAX. So we'll follow this. We are northbound on Vista Del Mar, right along the shoreline. We're starting to descend very quickly so we can get permission to Open up a little bit. CHP shot in there. Do we have a signal still? All right. Yeah, you know, he came northbound on Playa Vista and then went southbound on Pershing. Pershing runs just to the west side of LAX. And then once again, we got to get down along the shoreline, down to 150 feet, so that we can transition back and forth. And now we're going back south. Came northbound, made a couple of U-turns in that area in the Playa del Rey area, and then went south on Pershing, and that's going to put him down back towards Imperial Highway and the 105 freeway if he continues to go the way that the suspect came in. But we lost you there. We apologize for that. It's really difficult to keep a signal at these low altitudes. We got to hit a repeater, and sometimes it doesn't work. We understand it's a stolen vehicle, Philip, and we would hope we just cleared the center line at LAX so we can start to climb really quickly now. And it looks like the vehicle is coming right back towards us. As we picked him up, it looks like he came at us and then turned back to the north. So, boy, he's making it really tough for us. If we have to go back again to the north with LAX, it's just going to be a struggle. Yep. No, they're going to be able to stay on him, and the CHP is still behind him. But I think another authority is going to take over here pretty soon. That's really familiar with the Playa del Rey area. I believe it's going to be LAPD, and you can see all the units there because he went northbound. Then he came southbound. Then he turned around and came back to the north. You can see they were coming southbound, but they don't want to get in his way. They realize this is a suspect who does not want to stop. He's really probably willing to ram a vehicle, a patrol car, from what we've seen, because he's gone head-on into oncoming traffic in several situations. So there are a lot of patrol cars in the area. As well. Yeah. That's actually east. It's due east, going away from the street we were just on, and then to make a U-turn now. This is an area he hasn't been before. He went up in that area, but not on that street. We could see him before we lost the signal. But certainly, a lot of concern for this neighborhood. They're going to want to stop this. Somebody out walking their dog, somebody out riding their bike. A lot of that going on here, and you can see it's difficult to keep the camera in the right position because we've just been going back and forth so much. But we're going to see him come through one of these surface streets here again in a moment. But this is really taking a bad turn because we're seeing erratic driving in these residential neighborhoods in Playa del Rey. And, you just hope this thing comes to an end soon and nobody gets hurt. But right now, it's extremely dangerous. Yeah, we've lost him for a moment. I'm just trying to look out the window. Looks like he's back southbound now, and that's Pershing. So that's the same street that he was on a moment ago. Open up a little bit, and you'll see some perspective on where it is. LAX is off to the left side of the screen there. You see the plane. So for us, it's kind of hard to determine what we should do. Stay here and shoot it, or go south, almost lose the signal. Let's stay here for a moment, I think, and see exactly what happens, because we go down the shoreline. We have some difficulty time seeing this. He's made a turn, though, there. And if it continues, now we have to go around. Now we got to go ahead and go down. Well, we have to make a choice. We can go across on Sepulveda, but we have to climb up pretty high. So because of the erratic nature and the way he's gone north and south right near LAX, it's made it like one of the most difficult pursuits that I've ever covered, really, from the air, because it's so hard to stay on top of it. So I believe we're looking at Imperial Highway there. The sky map at this angle really won't give us exact streets. And that's where the suspect came in, if you remember, 105 to Imperial Highway and then all the way to Pershing. And we'll see. Now, that's not Imperial Highway. It's hard to tell for sure. I believe it is Imperial Highway. It's just the angle is tough to tell. So this is going to put the suspect back. Correct, yeah. And so we're going to climb. We got to go to 2,500 feet. Yeah, absolutely. That's where he just came from when he made that turn to go east on Imperial. So, a high-speed, dangerous pursuit with a suspect that's desperate to get away, nearly hit a couple of vehicles. Now CHP involved right behind him, air unit overhead. Been a little tricky because of the location, but it appears at this point in time they're not going to back off from the suspect. They're going to want to take this individual into custody. Once again, if you just started watching, we understand wanted for a stolen vehicle. But yeah, another close call. We've seen so many of those. Well, that's Sepulveda Boulevard. That is correct. And south on Sepulveda. So now we've got to get a permission to cross, and I think we've just got that from the tower at LAX, so we're going right over top of the airport. So we've got southbound on Sepulveda Boulevard, and you can see some traffic up ahead. Yeah, just for a moment. Yeah, it looks like he stopped. I couldn't tell if he hit another vehicle before he came to a stop there, if that's why. All right, and it looks like this is probably going to be over here. It appears that the suspect is obeying the commands of officers. They have their guns drawn. They're hiding behind the doors of the vehicle. They're talking to the suspect right now, more than likely telling him to turn around, keep his hands up, and then lay face down on the asphalt there. And it appears, why don't you go a little tighter? We have to be careful in these situations, but it appears the suspect is obeying their commands. It looks like there might be another person in the back seat. We thought initially only one, the driver, but it appears we have another person in the car. Possible. For now, yes. Yeah. Yeah, you certainly could, and they do have to treat this person as a suspect, at least for now. They may not be. Wow, there may be more. There may be several in there. It's interesting because the initial unit that we heard pick this up on the freeway said only one. So maybe they were ducking down. Maybe it just couldn't tell because of the windows. But it looks like there's going to be at least three. Are those hands on the right side sticking out? Yeah, so it looks like at least three people were inside the vehicle. Yeah. Yeah. Can you imagine the conversation? What they're telling the driver? Like, please, no, stop, just pull over. You got to figure. Yeah. Yeah, so we're on Sepulveda Boulevard, just south of the 105 freeway, south of LAX. So Sepulveda is shut down right now, southbound lanes, northbound is open. And it looks like this is going to be the final person that was on board, backing up towards officers, but obeying their commands. Now, once they have him into custody, they haven't been telling him to lay face down. It looks like they're going to rush him real quick here with his hands up. They still have to clear the vehicle, so they are going to come up, make sure there's nobody else inside that car before they go, code 4, and this whole thing is actually over. But it looks like, fortunately, no one got hurt. They just cleared it. Yeah. It's all clear. So, boy, I tell you, Philip, this was, yeah, frightening. In custody, yeah. Nobody hurt. Well, that was challenging. No problem, man. It happens. What are you going to do, right? Do the best you can do or go home. We're clear to the Van Nuys. Yeah, good job.